Emergency. There's an emergency going on.
Where have you been? Investigating this, investigating that. General investigation.
I should like to take this opportunity of saying that you are the most obnoxious, trumped-up, hearty little snakehead it has ever been my misfortune to encounter.
I was reading that moment. His name was Albert.
Hello everyone and welcome to Cali Productions Hun Ye Geek is showing, and on this episode today we're going to be talking about Red Dwarf as part of our Best of British.
Whoop, whoop.
And joining me tonight as always is some random guy, Jessup Braithwaite. How you doing?
I am the random man. I come from down your way.
Oh, right. Anyway, before we start this episode, I do want to actually do a quick little talk about some health issues that I'm having. People who are following my channel may know that there's actually been a quick decline in the amount of videos we're putting out. We're actually down to just one a week at the moment, which is this podcast. Reason being is, one, bill prices have gone up. Everything, like money-wise, has gone up. So collectibles at the moment for me are once a month if I can afford it. The last thing I reviewed was Transformers Skids. And yeah, that nearly broke the bank, and it was a cheap one. So that tells you how bad the financial situation is. So Cali's collectible review is currently on hold. So there's that. And I'm actually having some dental issues. I've been suffering a facial spasm for the last couple of weeks. I ended up going to A&E, the dentist, the doctors. I'm booked in for blood tests just to find out what's actually causing it. The dentist seems to think it's a gum infection on this side, hence why I'm having the twitches on this side of my face. Those of you who are watching this on a large screen can probably see my face is twitching while I'm talking about this. Basically, it knocked my confidence a little bit, and I didn't want to get in front of the camera. I became very, very camera shy. And it was purely self-confidence, just me being like, people are going to poke fun at it. People are going to laugh at me for it. But I'm now at the point of mind where I don't give a fuck. Quite frankly. I actually was just talking to my friend outside before starting this episode. When it comes to my creativity, I'm going to do it, whether it's writing, podcasting, TikTok videos, anything. No matter what my health conditions are, if I can get in front of my camera and I can record a video, I'm going to fucking record a video.
Good on you.
That is my dedication, not just to myself, but to the fans that I've been building up over the last nearly 2 years with this channel and the last few months with this podcast. So I just want to say to everyone who watches and everyone who likes the video and people who talk about it on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, I think, Guy, I can speak for you on this one as well. We just want to say a massive thank you so much. We would not be doing this if it wasn't for people supporting us the way you do. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But anyway, on with the show. We're talking all things Red Dwarf.
Yay.
It's a bit of an odd one. It's it's had its ups and downs. We will definitely get to the downs. We were just talking about this before we started filming. But we'll start with the ups. We'll start at the beginning because it's a good place to start.
It is.
So we'll go with I want to say introduction to Red Dwarf, but mine was kind of very spotty of an introduction to Red Dwarf because it was always shown after my bedtime when I was younger. It was shown like 9 o'clock onwards on BBC Two, I do believe, at the time.
It was, yes.
And I remember one of my cousins was always recording it and always talking about it. And I'd see like random bits of episodes when I went around to them and things like that. So I never really saw it properly, not until much later on. But when I went back and watched the original first 4 seasons at that point, where I really got into it, went back, watched them all, because at Blockbuster Video, retro shout out for anybody who remembers Blockbuster, they had the complete series, like, well, I say it was complete series. It was like on one cassette you got like episodes 1 to 4, then on another one you got 4 to 8.
Yeah.
So I would always rent out as much of the season as I could afford to rent out at the time. Go home, sit and watch it, and absolutely fucking loved it. And especially the first season, just even now, just so goddamn much. And I think it's got to be the first couple of seasons, especially the one who sells it for me was Danny John Jules.
Oh yeah,
you know,
Catman.
the cat. The first couple of seasons just strutting around, doing all that kind of.
Yeah,
it was
Catman.
Like,
this is mine. Catman.
I'm gonna get you, little fishy. I'm gonna get you, little fishy. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to Red Dwarf. It was very sporadic, but once I got to the right kind of age to really appreciate a lot of the jokes, sort of 9, 10, 11 years old, just blew me away. And the intro and outro, the outro song, just anyway. Your introduction to Red Dwarf, Guy?
Yeah, well, seeing as I'm the older of the two of us,
yeah,
I watched series 2 as it aired. I missed series 1 like a lot of folk did at the time, because it kind of just sailed under the radar a little bit.
It did. BBC didn't really give it a push when it first came out because, I mean, it came out in the late 80s where sci-fi was starting to have its decline.
Yeah.
The Star Wars hype was dying down. Return of the Jedi had been and gone. That was it for Star Wars. So the sci-fi hype was starting to kind of cool down. And going into the 90s, we definitely saw a big influx of explosive, blowy up action films, which we'll get to in another episode. We will. We promise.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't really give it a push. And
no, they didn't. Lesson.
I've watched like documentaries and stuff about the behind the scenes, and they just saw it as like this one series and done kind of thing. They really didn't think it would be as popular as it was. But thankfully, praise the universe, the first season got enough of a cult following that it got a second season. And, you know, as we know, it went right the way up to, well, I'm looking at the Wikipedia here, and it says most recent release. When was it?
Let's say a couple of years back, I want to think.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Most recent. Come on, scroll up, you piece of. Sorry, I'm having tech issues.
Piece of what? Smeg?
Yeah, piece of smeg, you smegging thing. Number of seasons 12, and it says TV.
I was right.
Film. So 12 seasons, 74 episodes, but it doesn't actually say the most recent one. Most recent date we've got here is 2020, and that's for like producers and stuff. So I would assume 2020 was the last release.
Yeah, it was on Dave.
Yeah, I don't have standard TV. I only have like Netflix and all that kind of stuff. So I don't.
They'll probably come on there at some point.
I'm hoping they do, because I did rewatch all the seasons up to the end of season 7, where Rimmer goes into the mirror world and then comes back and the ship's all completely fucked.
Yeah,
It just ends with a to be continued, and then we get Return to Earth like 10 years later. So yeah, I did do a watch, and yeah, I still love it. It's still funny, but
it is. But for me, season 2 will be the best, because it's. I think any of these things like this, the first thing you see is the one you love most.
Yes.
So for me, season 2 is always going to be like right up there.
Yeah.
Nope. Cough it up.
Yeah, cough it up. I'll give it up.
Hey. Boom.
But I think the season that really hooked me in was the first season that Crichton became a proper character in the show.
Season 3.
Yeah, season 3 was when I got proper into it with.
Yeah, most people did then.
Yes, I'm just double checking the actor's name because I can't remember.
Robert Llewellyn.
That's it, Robert Llewellyn. when he took over as the character, because they did the episode where Crichton came into it and then left on the motorbike, giving Rimmer the finger, and then season 3 he came back. So the second Crichton, I want to say, because I mean it's Crichton to us, but you know, in the actual timeline of the show, it was a different actor. So yeah, but when Robert Llewellyn took over as Crichton, just the neurotic OCD android. Oh my God! Sorry, mechanoid. He's not an android. He's a mechanoid.
It's a mechanoid. Yes.
That's it, yes. And I must admit, he had some of the funnier episodes.
Yeah.
Especially, I always talk about this one. I think it's season 7 or season 8, is it? Where because he's not got a penis, he's put into the female prison.
Yeah.
So to get into the male prison, he makes himself a penis, but it escapes, and he goes. He's running around looking for his. Just that episode, I don't know. Just something about it was just like, oh my God, really, Crichton.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite scenes, where what's it called? The thing that can change shape, the polymorph. The polymorph, when that first comes into it, it turns into Lister's pair of underpants and they start shrinking.
Oh, yeah.
On the floor, like gyrating, trying to get them off, and Crichton's there on the floor, kneeling down, and Rimmer walks in and he just looks like, my God, you really would shag anything, wouldn't you? Here we go, talking about Rimmer. Oh my God.
Oh, Rimmer.
Barry as Rimmer. Oh, what a treat to watch.
Oh my God, yeah, because he's just so talented.
Exactly. I don't want to typecast him, but I think he's going to be remembered for Rimmer more than anything else. I know he did stuff previous. I mean, he used to do.
Yeah, he's like Spitting Image.
I was just about to say that he did voices for Spitting Image. So yeah, I mean, he is a wonderfully talented bloke.
Yeah,
and you know, not to typecast, but I think you put him in that kind of role, he just excels at it for some reason.
God, yeah.
He's got that cowardly, narcissistic asshole down to a T.
But also the neurosis.
Yeah, that's the brilliant thing. He's a narcissist, but he's also neurotic about his failures. So he's a neurotic narcissist. It's just like, how can you be? It's two things that go against each other. Rimmer, I mean, come on. It even lists here on the. It's got the full names of the characters, and it's got Craig Charles as Dave Lister, Chris Barry as Arnold Judas Rimmer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, your middle name is Judas. So is it all for the character?
It does, doesn't it? Not. I mean, it's the same thing. Though. I think that's one of my favourite Rimmer bits from the same again, polymorph.
Yeah. When
it turns into his mum. Oh. That is just hilarious. The things he did with Alphabetti Spaghetti. Alphabetti Spaghetti! Fucking hell. Laughing at book and beer.
Oh, God. And mentioning Rimmer, obviously, we've mentioned Arnold Judas Rimmer. We have to talk about Ace Rimmer.
Oh, yes. Smoke me a kipper. I'll be back for breakfast.
Yes, exactly. The epitome of what Rimmer could have been. But I did like, though, how in the later seasons, they actually kind of made that like a little plot point that every Rimmer eventually becomes the Ace Rimmer because the previous one died. It's like a title that gets passed on.
Yeah.
It was his reason for leaving the show and then bringing in Kachansky.
Yeah.
Which, I get it. It was, trying to mix things up and keep it fresh, change, which, as we've talked about on previous episodes with different franchises, over a certain amount of time, you do have to, characters will have to leave and bring new characters in, keep things fresh and interesting. Because I think this speaks volumes for especially the later seasons, like X, Return to Earth and X, because I watched Return to Earth and a couple of episodes of X. When it's the same 4 blokes in the same situations over and over and over again, it gets a little stale. The jokes start to fall a little flat. And especially now with the actors, God bless them, being a little bit older than they were when they started, you know, time affects us all. No one's exempt from it.
Yeah.
I think there's certain things we've talked about this before, I will say it again, but there comes a time where an actor is too old to play the part.
Mm.
And
as we will get to on Sunday.
Yes. But I mean, you look at, okay, sidestep here.
Mm.
Terminator is a perfect example, right? As much as people love to see Arnie playing the Terminator, it's got to a point now where unless you've got a very plausible reason for why you've got an 80-year-old Terminator running around with you, it looks a bit silly. Sorry, Arnie, but it does. You compare it to the first two films. Okay, they're 10 years apart, but Arnie doesn't look much different.
No, bless him.
The third one was a bit shit, but Arnie whipped himself into shape and looked as much like he could.
I didn't mind the third one so much, actually.
I didn't mind it, but it was just very for me.
Yeah.
Like compared to the first two, it was very like, oh, okay. So the war is just inevitable. It's just going to happen anyway. Okay.
I did like the bit where that psychiatrist sort of sight of Arnie and just shat himself and ran away.
It's the bit though where the stuff from the second one affected him. We'll go back. We'll get back to Red Dwarf. We promise.
We will promise.
The bit with the psychiatrist, the bit where it takes you years. It can take time to get over these things. Years, in fact.
You'll see things that just can't be real.
And it's like, hold on, did he end up as a patient in his own clinic?
Oh, well, after he saw the liquid metal Terminator, yeah, probably.
I think, right, retroactively, if I was James Cameron, I would have thrown that in as an end of credits, like, stinger.
Yeah.
See, like, Soberman out of his mind going, it's all true, it's all true.
Yeah.
Like in
straight jacketed.
Straight jacketed, like, she's telling the truth. Sarah Connor was right, we're all fucked. You know, I would have loved to have seen that, because then it would have set that bit up for the third one just perfectly.
Exactly.
But anyway, back to Red Dwarf.
Yes, drag us back.
Right. So, Red Dwarf, very interesting series. We'll cover the basic premise of it for those who really don't know what Red Dwarf is about. Go on.
I have trivia.
Go on then.
It was pitched to the BBC as follows, and I quote: "The odd couple in space on acid."
Yes, it was pretty much. Yeah.
That was it. That was
pretty much the pitch, and that's probably why the BBC didn't give it much of a push. I think, looking back at it, Red Dwarf probably would have fared better on its first season on somewhere like Channel 4.
Oh, God, yeah, probably.
Because at the time, Channel 4 was doing a lot of very out there, off the mainstream kind of programming.
I think that's probably why BBC Two took it, so they could,
compete. Yeah.
Yes.
It was to compete with Channel 4. They were like, oh, well, we've got this edgy new space program. It's on at this time, but that's all we're telling you.
Yeah, come on, throw us a bone.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the basic premise of the show is season 1, David Lister is on the mining ship Red Dwarf some point in the late 21st century. He is the lowest ranking member of 169. So he is 169th in the crew roster. He smuggles a cat aboard the ship, which is a big no-no. And for punishment in this universe, we'll call it, for punishment, he is put into the stasis chamber for, I think it's, how many days is it?
It's the duration of the rest of the trip.
Yes, that was it. Sorry, yes, for the duration of the rest of the trip. But shortly after going into suspended animation, there's a radiation leak that kills all of the crew bar the ship's cat, which was pregnant and escaped into the cargo hold where it was safe and sound. The ship's computer, a supercomputer with a massive IQ called Holly.
6,000.
decides that the only way to save Lister is to wait for the radiation levels to return to normal. 3 million years later, not 300 or 3,000, 3 million years later, Dave Lister is let out of suspended animation.
Oh, and of course, Holly set the ship to accelerate out of the solar system so it didn't spread the radiation.
Exactly.
So they are in deep space.
Yes, they are lost in deep space, and Dave Lister is, for all intents and purposes, literally the last human alive. It is then later discovered that Holly has now lost its intelligence because it's gone senile.
Mm.
And to keep Lister sane, it revives holographically his bunkmate, one Arnold Judas Rimmer, and the pair cannot fucking stand each other. And then later in the episode, it is revealed that the ship's cat had its babies and they evolved into the last surviving member of the species, simply known as Cat, who we talked about earlier in the episode. So yeah, for those who don't know, that is the basic premise of Red Dwarf, and hilarity ensues from there. The series goes on, things change, new characters come in, people leave, there's cameos and guest spots and God knows what else thrown in there. They go to different time periods.
Yep.
In one season, they actually end up having to get JFK to assassinate JFK.
Yes, he is the gunman on the grassy knoll.
Yes, JFK was the second gunman. And they even actually say in the episode, it's like, yeah, this will drive the conspiracy theories nuts. But yeah, so Red Dwarf. Anything you want to say more about it, Guy?
Yeah. Did you ever read books?
I did start to read the Last Human book because
you want to read Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers.
Right.
Fleshes lots of things out.
All right.
So, and it's very funny and worth a read. So hunt it down.
I will jump on the old Amazon and see what's on there, because they usually have some good deals on books.
Yeah, there's Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers, followed by Better Than Life.
Better Than Life. Oh, that's based on one of the episodes, isn't it? Where they're in the...
yeah, but it's hugely fleshed out even more.
Yeah, so... well, actually, I know the basic premise of that one because it was based on the episode where they're in the VR thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
With the despair squid. Yeah.
No, Better Than Life Series 2, Despair Squids later on.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's a different AI game.
All right. Okay. I'm getting it's been a while. I get my episodes mixed up.
I know. I don't even know how I remember this shit, to be honest with you. It's my silly brain. I can't remember what I had for tea yesterday.
But right, let's carry on talking about the cast then. Danny John Jules as the cat.
Oh,
just
what a role.
Some of the outfits.
I
mean, I remember actually watching, I think it was on one of the Smeg Up videos that they did. They showed like clips from like a Red Dwarf convention thing that they were at. And somebody asked, I think it was Craig Charles, if the characters they play are like the people that they are. And he said, kind of. They're almost like caricatures. They're more sort of exaggerated versions of ourselves. Like Danny John Jules owns more clothes than anybody I know. You know, you look at the cat, he's probably got a wardrobe like 10 miles long. You know, myself, I can be a little bit messy. Dave Lister's an absolute snot, absolute slob. So yeah, it's kind of little bits of them, but just blown up to the extreme. And I think, especially as the later seasons went on, and they got more and more comfortable with the characters, and they became more and more like, I want to try this with the characters because I feel the character would be more like this. You know, they definitely, by season 4 and 5, I think they got it nailed down to who Dave Lister was, who Cat was, who Rimmer was, who Crichton was. Like, you could believe that these were actual people. You know, in a lot of sci-fi, you will come across like actors who are literally, you can see they're playing the character and they don't believe in what, the line reading doesn't come across quite like powerful enough.
Yeah.
Like when Lister comes out with like, talking about his curries and stuff like that, and his passion for like curries, and you believe this guy is the sort of guy who on a Friday night will go out and chug down 10 beers and then wash it down with a Vindaloo followed by 10 more beers. You can honestly believe that that's the kind of person he is.
Oh yeah,
and hats off to the actors on that one.
definitely.
Right. Norman Lovett.
Oh, he's the best, Holly.
It says regular series here, series 1 and 2, and 8 and 9, and then guest in series 7 and 12.
Yeah.
And then
you had Hattie Hayridge for the
yes, I was just about to say Hattie Hayridge as in season 2, 3 and 5. Or 3, 2, 5, sorry. But Holly, the ship's computer.
Oh yes, some of the best lines.
Dropped some of the best punchlines ever. The one that always pops into my mind is the Queeg episode. Gets Rimmer like jogging while he's passed out. Hats off to Chris Berry for that one, where he's actually jogging along and then he's still going, but he's there like
yeah.
That bloody good acting that was. But
you wouldn't get that now. Wouldn't be allowed.
Oh Christ no. The one that always every time I think of Red Dwarf and the later seasons, it's Starbug is flying in through the vent shaft of the newly rebuilt Red Dwarf.
Oh,
the nanobots have rebuilt it. And they're flying along. It's like, there appears to be some sort of blockage. Cuts to the POV and there's a rat.
Yeah.
Back, I'm like, oh no. Flying along.
Yeah.
Starbug sticking out of its arse, and Holly just pops up and goes, "Oh, we don't get stopped by the cops. I don't like it when you're rat-arsed."
It
was just,
love
it. His name, Norman Lovett. Yeah, I do love it.
Yeah, too right. We need him back.
Yes. Looking further down the sorry, there's my microphone. The list, we've got Dave Ross. Hey, we were talking about him in the last episode.
Well, we were.
Guess.
Hey.
And Robert Llewellyn, regular series, and this is odd. It says series 3 to present.
Yeah.
Does that mean he's playing him in 2022?
Oh, that's a good point.
Because it says present. It doesn't say until 2020. It says to present. So that means he's still playing the character. Is Wikipedia telling us something we might not know?
Or is Wikipedia full of shit and edited by twats as you?
Here's a bit of a quiz for you then, Guy. What's Crichton's full name?
Oh, God. Oh, it's loads of numbers and that. Yeah. Crichton, Ford, Jade, something. I don't know.
Crichton.
You frozen.
Yeah, there we go. I think we're having a slight connection issue.
Yep. I've gone yellow.
There we go. It's probably because of the rain, because we're having a bit of a storm here in our town at the moment. It says here his full name is Crichton 2X4B.
There you go.
523P.
That was it.
Yes. And Silicon Heaven is waiting for Crichton, I suppose. See,
where would all the calculators go?
See, whenever I think of Silicon Heaven, I just think of like someone who's really good at breast surgery.
I was going to say, it's got boobs everywhere.
Yeah. Silicon Heaven. It's just a lot of fake tits everywhere.
Mama.
Right.
Oh, I'm doing bestie gaps on the camera. Fucking edit that bit out.
Don't motivate your camera guy. It won't end well. Right, we got here Claire Grogan, recurring series 1, guest series 2 and series 6, and Chloe Annette, series regular 7 and 8, and guest in series 9 as Christine Kachansky, Dave Lister's love interest.
Oh.
And also his mom.
Yes.
Because they worked it into the timeline.
Ouroboros.
Yeah, they worked it into the timeline that Dave Lister is his own dad via Kachansky.
Yep.
So I don't want to say it's incest, but it's incest.
What a motherfucker.
Dave Lister literally is a motherfucker.
He is.
He's a natural born motherfucker.
Well, they got to keep this. They got to keep the human race going somehow, haven't they?
I bet though. I bet right. He'd be great at like a redneck party where they're all like, "Yeah, I married my cousin who was twice removed on my father's side." He can just turn around and go, "Fuck that! I'm my own dad."
Yeah. No.
But yeah, that's pretty much the main bulk of the cast covered. Like we said, there's been lots of guest appearances from other famous British comedians and actors and things like that over the years. If you've not watched Red Dwarf, I highly recommend you track it down. Not the American version that they tried to make.
Please God, no. Don't do it. Do yourself a favor.
I've seen some clips of it and it is shockingly bad. Shock. I mean, some things work and some things don't. I know that the American adaptation of Shameless that went over very well. That I think that's actually still going right now, as far as I'm aware. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it did quite well. But Red Dwarf just
and Life on Mars.
Oh yeah, no. They took the literal interpretation and ended it with them landing on Mars.
Ooh, there's an idea for it. So.
Cover that. We may. We'll see. We've got a lot on the cards. We keep stacking things up. We've got a full deck at the moment.
Yeah, well, I keep having ideas.
Let's cash our chips in before we go bust. I think. Sorry, I got possessed by Frankie Howard for a second there.
More like Sid James.
Sorry. I'm cutting that bit.
No, you're not.
I'm really not.
Cool, she's jiggling.
Right. Red Dwarf. Anyway.
Yes.
One thing I do want to talk about, mentioning the American version, I do remember, and I must have been about 17, 18 when I heard about this, that there was a Red Dwarf movie in the works.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm going back, nearly 20 years at this point, but I remember. Does anybody remember teletext on the TV?
Yes.
Right. I'm not the only one who's an old bitch then.
No, that's me too.
When I first moved into a flat on my own, 17 years old, living on my own for the first time, when you're broke, you don't go out, you just stay in and you watch TV.
You watch teletext?
On Channel 4, they used to do this thing of upcoming film news.
It
was like their movie news page. So I used to read through that, just something to read. I'm bored. I've got like a music channel on in the background. I might as well have that over the top. So I'm reading something while I'm listening to something. Fair fucking enough. And I read about this. There was this Red Dwarf film in the works and all this kind of stuff. And apparently, Doug shut it. The creator of it shut it down.
Doug Naylor.
Yeah, Doug Naylor shut it down because when he approached the studio about doing a Red Dwarf movie, they were all hyped for it, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll." They started like suggesting casting choices. Their first choice for Dave Lister, the beer swilling, curry munching, thinks he's better on guitar than he actually is, which I think you can relate to, Guy.
Oh, I'm a bass player, dear.
I know. But anyway, their first choice for this guy, who is like the absolute lowest epitome of what humanity should be, lazy, slobbish, loudmouth,
winsome.
They wanted Hugh Grant to play him. That was pretty much what Doug Naylor did. Apparently he was in a meeting with him and they said, yeah, we'd really like Hugh Grant to play Dave Lister. And he just went, really? And they were like, yeah, we're going to get in touch with him. And he just went, no, you're not. Got up and left. Took the deal away and left. Because no contracts had been signed, thankfully. It was just like, if we get it going, this is who we'd like to play these. And he was like, really? Really? Who are you going to get to play Crichton and Cat? You know?
Yeah.
Were you going to get Wesley Snipes to play Cat or something? You know, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, like he said, there's something about Dave Lister that appeals to people because he's the everyman. He's not the posh, good-looking guy. He's not the muscle-bound action hero. He's the guy who smokes a pack of 20 cigarettes a day, likes a beer at the end of the day, munches down on a Indian or Chinese takeaway and fucking loves it because of how greasy and unhealthy it is for him. You know,
the inventor of the lager-flavored milkshake.
Exactly. He is literally the British everyman. You know what I mean? And it just, to change the character, well, the actor, to someone who would just completely not fit that role.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was me, if I was that studio, I would have gone, okay, it was a little bit before his time, but Jack Black.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to Americanize and, you know, make a film out of Red Dwarf, the only person I could really think of at this day and age that could play Lister realistically, in my mind, is Jack Black or Jonah Hill.
Kevin Smith.
He's a little bit older though.
No, yeah, I know, but we're all a bit older.
Oh, yeah, but I was thinking of a younger Lister, like go back to if they were going to reboot it, like go back to the beginning, like a younger.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, possibly Jack Black because he's in that right kind of age bracket to be the.
I don't know. Jack Black's starting to look fucking old.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just in that right age bracket.
Great for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Jonah, like I said though, Jonah Hill, he could play it.
Yeah, Jonah Hill could manage it.
You know, you look at him in like what is it, 21 Jump Street?
Mm.
You know, you give him the ponytail thing and all that, and yeah, I could see it. I could see him playing it, but Hugh Grant, fuck no.
No.
Fuck no. I'd say he would make a good Rimmer. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, he'd pull that off.
I think watching him in Doctor Strange, I think he could make a really good Rimmer.
I've not seen a new one yet, so don't spoil me.
It's on Disney Plus now.
I know. I've not had time. I'm a parent.
I know. Oh, I watched it with my daughter over the weekend.
Yeah, my daughter's 10. No, she's not. She's fucking 8.
You can't even remember how old your kid is.
You're fucking really editing that without, for fuck's sake. I'll get killed.
If your wife sees that, you are on the sofa for life.
My wife's in the other room, so
say nothing. Right, seeing as we're doing like almost doing a little bit of fan casting here. Who would you choose for, say, we'll go with Crichton. Who would you choose for Crichton? Because I suggested Rimmer and Lister, so you can do the others. You can do Cat and Crichton. Who would you? Can't think of Crichton. Go with Cat.
I can't think of Crichton. So Cat. Ooh, that's a hard one as well. Shit. Oh, what's the name of your man? Play War Machine.
Don Cheadle.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Do you know what? Actually, with some of the quips that he comes out with in some of the episodes, yeah, I could
put him in a wig. Get a wig on him.
Get him in them little PVC leopard.
Yeah.
The cat walk. Yeah, I could see that actually. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would work well. If not him, if actually you're saying that, Don Cheadle, the guy who plays Falcon.
Yeah. Oh,
he's a bit younger. Can't remember his name.
Yeah, fucking hell. What's his name? You remember we were supposed to be geeks.
I know we are, but when you know what it's like when you know an actor's name and then when it comes for you to say it, your brain just goes,
yeah.
404 error.
Yeah.
Information not found. Your brain does that. But yeah, the guy who played Falcon, I think he'd make a good younger version of Cat. If they were to reboot it, like set it when they were a bit younger.
Oh, I know. I'll get to play Crichton.
Go on then.
Oh, fuck. 404 again. He was in The Social Network, played the geezer who invented Facebook.
Oh, Jesse Eisenberg.
Thank you. There you go.
Yes. Yeah, actually, yeah. Do you know what?
He pulled it off.
After watching him play Lex Luthor in the
Mm,
ill-fated Batman versus Superman,
very fucking ill-fated.
yeah, do you know what? I think he could get the neuroses of crying down to a T.
Yeah.
And Holly, who do you think we could recast us with Holly?
Oh, Christ, that's a
That's
that's a head scratcher.
That's a head scratcher because you could use two versions. You could either go with the Hattie Holly or the Norman Lovett Holly. So, for female Holly, Scarlett Johansson.
No, she's too pretty.
Yeah, but I think that would be the juxtaposition though. This nice, really little, pretty looking person who's thick as two short planks. I think she could.
Supposed to Hollywood.
I think she could get the ditzy airheadedness down to a T. I think she could pull it off.
That's supposed to Hollywood.
No, but the one thing you've got to remember with Holly though is when they're saying these ridiculously funny lines, they're saying them with absolute seriousness because their minds addled, like they've been on their own for 3 million years. So I think if Scarlett Johansson played that part, I think she could get that seriousness. Like she'd say an absolutely belter of a funny line, but she'd say it with such seriousness that it would become even more funny.
Oh, Kevin Smith for Norman Lovett Holly. He could do that.
Oh, fuck yes. Put a bold cap on him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna tweet that later.
There you go. Kevin Smith.
At Kevin Smith, Red Dwarf reboot. Holly, Holly, Holly. It will probably never happen. Right.
Well, we managed that. There we go.
I think that's the fine casting done, apart from Kachansky. But to be fair, right. I think she could be played by pretty much any kind of big name leading woman at the moment. What's her name? Her from the Jurassic Park films.
Oh yeah. Yeah, last there. 404.
Can't remember her name now.
Not watched them.
I
not watched any Jurassic Park. I've not watched any of them.
Is it Jessica Chastain? Is that?
I don't know. I've not watched any of them.
Her from the new Jurassic Park films. I think she could play a good Kachansky. There we go. Right, fan casting done.
Hey, we did it.
Right, and I think that's pretty much it for Red Dwarf.
Yes, I'd say so.
We're coming up.
So if you've not seen it, do yourself a favour. Do go and watch it because it's awesome.
Yes. As we're saying on this series of videos that we're doing at the moment, we're covering Best of British. And we did a little bit of British sci-fi we did like a cornerstone of British sci-fi in the last episode. We covered Doctor Who, which, is just a phenomenal series as is. Red Dwarf, I think, is another very good prime example of sci-fi from the 80s, early 90s, but it's also a very nice slice of British sitcom humor at that time, because there was quite a few at the time, but they were kind of slowly dying down. You had things like
Terry and June.
Yeah, The Good Life and things like that. But they were starting to slowly die off and slowly die out, and they would get replaced by things like Red Dwarf and The Young Ones.
Filthy Rich and Cat Flap.
Yeah, Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. Only Fools and Horses. No foreshadowing there at all.
What? No, never. Not foreshadowing. Or are we?
I have a little bit of trivia about that subject, but we'll save that for that episode.
Nice one, Rodders.
You plonker. But yes, Red Dwarf. It's one, I think, along with Doctor Who, it's a nice, good staple of British sci-fi, British sitcom, British humor. The humor in it is so British.
Yeah.
I actually used one of the jokes out of Red Dwarf. There's a clip where I think it's before Lister gets frozen. It's like episode 1.
Mm.
He's smoking a ciggy in front of Rimmer, and Rimmer goes, "Lister, is that a cigarette in your hand?" And he holds it up and goes, "Nah, it's a chicken."
Mm.
When my mum first caught me smoking,
Yeah.
I used that line. She went, "Are you smoking a cigarette?" And I just held it and went, "No, it's a chicken."
Did you get clobbered?
No, she was too busy laughing to be pissed at me. Because
Oh, there you go then.
at that point, I didn't actually start smoking until I was 16. And at the time I started smoking, you could legally buy tobacco at 16. So, like she said, my sister tried to have a go at me about it. And my mum was just like, "Look, they're old enough to make their own mind up. You know, they're in college, they're 16, they want to smoke."
Mm.
You know, I was nearly an adult. There was no way she could stop me. So, but anyway, we keep sidestepping shit. We do wrap things up now. Red Dwarf. I think the final thing we need to talk about with Red Dwarf is the decline in quality. And again, I don't want to throw shade. I don't want to throw shade because I love the franchise, but I think that when there's more than a couple of years gap between each season, and actors start getting older. I mean, as much as I love the character of Rimmer, he's meant to be a hologram, right?
Mm.
Therefore, not human. Therefore, doesn't age.
Yeah.
Chris Barry, unfortunately, like the rest of us, ages.
Yeah.
And now, when he's playing the character and he's thinning on top and he's portly around the middle, you're just kind of looking at the. It's almost like that metal band that hasn't released an album in 20 years and they do a comeback show and then you realize why they haven't done an album in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of that feeling. It's like, please stop. You're flogging a dead horse at this point. You beat
Metallica. Sorry, terrible cough there. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. I'd go to see a doctor about that one.
I best have.
You know, because but yeah, I do think that what they're doing now, as good as it can be and as funny as it is, because I've heard that it is good, but for me, I don't want to spoil those childhood memories of what these characters looked like before, what the actors looked like before, because when you've got characters like that, it's better to let them bow out gracefully than to just let them grow old and fade away. And they even address this in the Back to Earth one. Like, you know, they parody Blade Runner to fuck at the end of Back to Earth. And it's true what they say, you know, those who burn brightest burn half as long. And for me, I think Red Dwarf peaked at season 7 because, you know, well, back end of season 7, start of season 8, because they kind of overlap with each other, where Rimmer leaves and Chansey comes into it. I think that season 7 was its absolute peak.
Yeah.
Season 8 was a nice way to round it off. They could have quite easily just gone, they get back to Earth. Or get back to where Earth should be, and Earth's gone, it's blown up, it's whatever. So they go and look for a new planet and then ended it there of like, they're off on there to live their lives. They're not off to try and get somewhere. They're just off. Or fuck it, they just settle on a ship, build a colony on the ship and survive there. They could have done so much with it, but BBC was like, we want more, we want more, we want more. So they always had to leave the door open to carry it on. And it's just like, after season 8, they should have stopped. Maybe do a reunion special like the Back to Earth one. I got the idea. It was kind of bring them all back, one last hurrah. And that should have been it. But to keep flogging it on now, it's just like, please stop. Please stop.
They sold it to Dave.
Yeah. But anyway, that's our thoughts on Red Dwarf.
Yes, indeed. But we will be back.
Yes, we will.
Continuing the best of British.
Yes, we are continuing the best of British. Up next week, we are covering the man, the legend, the spy, 007 himself, James Bond.
Ding, 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 ding,
Money penny.
I was just sitting here, smoking.
Smoking a pancake.
Paper
Oh, wait, wrong franchise.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we'll tangent again. We'll stop that.
Oh,
Nip it in the
big
bud.
wave.
Oh, don't start. Carry on again.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know for a fact that once we start talking about James Bond, it's inevitable we're going to have to talk about Austin Powers because it is the biggest spoof parody of James Bond you could ever possibly get.
And probably the best.
Of course. But anyway, that's a topic for another episode.
Yes, we will. We will have guests on the next
Oh,
episode.
yes. Tony is joining us for another episode. Best of British,
Yeah,
best of Bond.
and you'd have thought you'd have had enough of us on the last episode, but
People can never have enough of us. I mean, there's plenty of us to go around.
well, I don't know. When I'm questioning his parentage,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
let me go on record, folks, and say that I do love Tony very much, and I have him for a lot of years. He's a lovely man. He's a good friend, and he knows what I'm like. So it's all cool.
I will say to the viewers out there, when we have guests and things like that on here, when we make jokes and things like that, it is all done in good humor. It is.
Yeah. There's no bullying.
Yeah. There's no malice. There's no maliciousness. There's no hurtful shit behind it. It's just us throwing out jokes, making a laugh because it's the first thing that pops into our heads, and that's kind of level of humor. The one thing we don't do is we don't take jokes that are said or things that are said in private and splash them all over social media. We do not do that.
No, we don't.
Anyway, thank you all for joining us. I have been, as always, Killista Valentine, joined by the random
JB, the random man.
You got to lean into that random thing. We're gonna do something with this randomness. We're gonna
random, so random.
Right. We should catch you all in the next episode.
Right.
Bye, everyone.
Take it easy.
Emergency. There's an emergency going on.
We're going to be investigating this, investigating that, general investigation.
I should like to take this opportunity of saying that you are the most obnoxious, trumped-up, hearty little snakehead it has ever been my misfortune to encounter.
I was reading that moment. His name was Albert.